Hi guys, welcome to another part of the tutorial. In this section, what we're gonna tackle is the little counter over here and the spaceship. Okay, like you can see. So what's really interesting about these guys is that this is basically animated over time, and this one it's attached to this close proximity of the circles themselves. So if I modify that, just quickly show you. This one. There you go. It stays at exactly the same distance. Yeah, no matter where I move it, basically. So let me show you how to do this. So first we're gonna tackle the counter. So just make a text layer. Just code like any kind of text, that's fine. The way I'm gonna style it is just go from the left hand side paragraph. So what I want to do is put the anchor point at the bottom left of the text itself. So then when the text changes, it doesn't go like left and right, left and right. Okay, so the expression for that is this. Okay, as before, define source, find the values, sides, and using this calculation, it will push the anchor point at the bottom. Now, the way I'm doing it, so for example, if it scales, it will stay in this spot. So if I put it like here next to the circle itself, all the changes will go right. It's not gonna go left, right, and center and stuff like that, right? Now, the way to animate numbers in time, there's a few ways to do it. Let's call it X mark. And you do this with source text, right? So what you can do is, for example, type an expression time, let's say times like 10. Okay, and you just keep displaying keyframes. Keyframes. The values corresponding to this time in frames, for example, right? Times this number. But there is actually a really cool way to modify this. Okay, so let me show you. So basically what you want to do, let's define a few variables like source. Let's do this as time. Source, and then actual text source. What we can do is using these two columns, we can add extra values to this this variable. Sorry. Okay, and then you just add plus s. So what happens is, if I apply this to text source, there you go. So now these values will get displayed likewise, right? Now you can add anything to it, like x, y, apply, there you go, same thing. So the way I want to make this a little bit more interesting, it's by adding some decimals. And the way you do this, it's by adding a little piece of code which goes like this, dot to fixed, and then in the brackets you specify how many decimals you want. There you go. So you have like 4 decimals. You can change this to something like 7, for example. Now the thing is, it's like if we're using actual time to change this number, this is not gonna get affected unless we start messing around with this variable time. For example, you can add like +3. Okay, that changes. So from 0, it's not gonna go straight from 0. Now, to mess it up more, what you can do is put this in the brackets and multiply that by something like, I don't know, like 13, for example. There you go. Now the thing is, you're multiplying this by whole numbers. What you want to do is target these guys. So I found out that if you multiply this by some like an even string like this, there you go. You start messing up with the numbers after decimals, right? And they will keep changing, etc., etc. Now I don't need 7 decimals. Just keep it at 4. And there you go. And that's like how quickly you can make like a random display, for example, right? Okay, so we tackle that. Now, as I mentioned before, I don't want to use like any scale properties and stuff like that. I just want to keep everything at 100% scale, because if I go to character menu, this way I can change the parameters pretty easily, and then this stuff will resize, like, you know, without any problems and so on. Okay. Now what I would like to do is position this calculator timer like close to the circle, but I don't want to keep moving it every time I modify the position of the circle using my controllers, right? So if I find the circle offset, like if I keep moving this, I will have to keep moving this around. So what you want to do is pretty much use the same expression as a circle loop. Okay, if I just load this up, what you can do is copy and paste it here. Likewise, copy paste, but this will be attached to this bottom line, which I don't want to. Okay, so we can modify that. So let's see which numbers we can modify. So for example, I can offset it by a bigger number, like here. So if I do this by 2, there you go, it's pushed like a little bit to the front. And if we do maybe like 3, let me just make sure this is selected. There you go, it's exactly one gap away from the edge of the circle. And what I would like to do as well is maybe keep the Y, because we don't need Y, keep as value, reference Y, there you go. So this way I can easily move it up and down to like fit with my composition. But now the circle and the X mark are connected likewise. So if I do it with, where are you? Circle offset, this one. They're connected. Now there's one thing I want to as well fix, which is those decimals. I want these guys to be always full numbers, and maybe change the property of the slider itself. So it goes from like -30 to 30, for example. Okay, so if I zero this out, it should be depth in center, yeah. Go minus and plus to the edge to edge, basically. And a little bit before, there you go. So let's just put keyframe here for now, so I can bring it up. So I want to have these numbers as whole. I don't want them to be just like these decimals and stuff like that. So what you can do is add expression, math.floor value, and that turns this into whole numbers. So this expression is just basically the value. It takes what's the value on this slider and then floors it. So just basically runs it down to the nearest full number, and it stays there. Okay, so another little detail which we're gonna do is add a little spaceship marker thing. There you go. And now it's just the question of styling it a little bit, so maybe like make it semi-transparent. Perfect. Okay, so what I want to do is have the anchor point on this side in the center. So again, expression, anchor point, and let's find it. Yeah, again, define the layer, values at a time, all the sides, and this is the calculation you want to bring the anchor point to the right center. So now we're gonna use the same trick we use with the mark, X mark, and I'm just gonna copy the position of the circle to the position of the marker, and now they're connected. So if I modify this with where is offset, there you go, they stay together, but I want to separate them a little bit. So just basically we just have to modify this expression a little bit. Okay, and most likely it will be with this number, but we don't want to minus, to add 1. There we go. So the X is at the same size, and then same distance from the circle and the triangle as well. And this way you have a rig which performs as it should, and then it just animates, right?